Hello, everybody. Happy springtime. It is a great time to be in parks, right? Plants are blooming and leaves are greening up. Bird song can be heard and everything is reemerging again, including us. It feels like we are finally getting out from the COVID cloud and we are evolving here at Good News in Parks as well. If you recall, we started as a way for everyone to kind of stay in touch and share similar experiences as we navigated the pandemic together. And while we're still sharing experiences, we'll be shifting to new ideas, future thinking, innovation. So in coming episodes, you're going to hear us share dialogue around themes like intergenerational programming and design, cybersecurity, innovative ideas, inspirational partnerships, aspirations, and goals. All of these ideas coming from the surveys that you guys give us at the end of the show. It is a great time to be in parks. We are an essential service whose time is now, and the ideas shared here with your colleagues help you think of new ways to grow and evolve. So don't forget to go to education.playcorps.com and register for our next show. And let's get going with this one. This is a show theme that you guys have been asking for a long time now. Big things happening in small communities. I cannot wait to meet this panel and hear how they are making big things happen with small departments. It's definitely going to be inspirational. Jody, let's get the show underway. Who's with us today?
Oh, we've got Jason Lang, Director, East Ghostin Township, Pennsylvania, Parks and Recreation Department. All right. Jason is also a certified Parks and Recreation executive, a CPRE. He guides a three-time gold medal finalist agency, and he also manages the 2019 Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Society Agency of the Year. Jason, been waiting to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
You bet. Cindy Shook, Director, Branson, Missouri, Parks and Recreation Association. Cindy will be inducted just this month in the 2022 Missouri Sports Hall of Fame for not only being a long-time successful Parks and Recreation Director, but also an accomplished athlete for the state of Missouri. Congratulations on that, Cindy.
Yeah.
She also received the 2021 Missouri Municipal League Innovation Award, statewide, you guys. And then she was named 2016 Chamber of Commerce Community Spirit Award recipient. Cindy, so proud. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here today with all of you and look forward to hopefully giving some good input.
Absolutely. Brad Rainey, City of Green River, Wyoming Parks and Recreation Department. He is a certified Parks and Recreation professional, and he also guides, get this, you guys, gold medal grand plaque recipient department. That's a wow. I was chair at the time, and that's a wow. That's a tough one to get. In the past, he has also served the communities of City of Casper, and I'm going to try this one, Brad, the Snohomish County. I think I was close.
Snohomish County.
Thank you. Need a little help on that. But welcome to the show, Brad.
Thanks so much for having me on. Excited to be here.
You betcha. All right, everyone. It's Good News National News. Let's get ripping on this. National Association of County Parks and Recreation Officials. They're going to hold their annual meeting in person on May 14th through the 16th. And it's going to be at Valdosta Loudoun County Parks and Recreation Authority in Georgia. And I've been a member of this board. I cannot tell you, you might be even a city department, but you can attend this annual meeting. I've learned so much with this group, and it's a great sharing opportunity for departments. Go to nacpro.org, and they will give you the registration link. And I want to give a shout out to Brenda Adams. She is just a tremendous executive director, but they do a great job on this county. There's 18,000 counties in this country, people. So you can imagine the plethora of information that will come out. Also, a new study out. It came out from the University of Vermont, March 30th. Be looking for it. They worked with the Trust for Public Lands. Here's the key. This is all about the happiest benefit of U.S. urban parks. And I believe this may go into other levels of populations of park systems. They did it by tweets, and it was scientifically done. Here's how they looked at it. First, they analyzed the time of the year of the tweets. This was over a 12-month period. Second, they looked at the day of the week of the tweets. And third, they looked at the time of the tweets. And I can tell you that was an extensive, amazing, you can imagine, database that they went through. What they found out is that in the 25 urban cities, is that the bottom line, people had happier tweets when they were in parks than not. They also were in happiest times were in 1,000-acre park and larger. And then a couple of departments that we all know and love, Indianapolis and Austin are leading the way. So there's 25, they're all ranked, and you can go to PLOS 1 and you can bring this up, Google that, PLOS 1, Google it, and that report will come up with a lot of different park reports. I've really not known about this website before. So it's been very, very exciting to read the new information out there. And then finally, in light of the 50th anniversary of passage of the 1972 Federal Civil Rights Act of Title IX rights, dealing with discrimination based on sex in education, sports, plus other areas. The Women's Sports Foundation just came out, and you may have seen this in the NRPA news, is offering the Sports for Life grants to increase opportunities for Black, African American, Hispanic, and Native American girls in local sports programs. The deadline for a letter of intent, it's not an application, letter of intent, is April 22nd. So you still got a week to get in on this. I know that there's still grant money available. Please go after it, okay? And so you would go to WSF.org for information. And that's for your good news, national news, but a lot of great things going on out there. Okay, exciting. Let's go to this panelist. Here we go. Question number one, panelists. Again, I feel like I'm on a game show. I don't know why. Okay, we have fun here at Good News and Parks. Big things do happen and take place in smaller community settings. And you all are a testament to this statement. You are the best of the best when it comes to this. Talk about your department and local community. Give us a couple of examples of big things your department is involved in organizing and administering for your community. Jason, open-ended question, go for it.
All right, so I'll talk about a couple of programs that we do, which highlight kind of the impacts that we provide for our residents. The first is, it's called the Carnival of Ruin, and that's a theater production that we do in partnership with a local college, and everything involving the production is around sustainability. So the dialogue of the program is all about conservation and water quality, air quality, and the real kicker is that over the course of 18 months, we collected thousands of pounds of garbage, soda cans, plastic bottles, plastic bags, etc., that were all integrated into the costuming for the performers themselves. So for instance, like the mermaid, her tail was made out of old ginger ale and Sprite cans. Every part of the costume itself was 100% post-consumer waste. So it was super cool. Like at the end of the performance, little kids could come up and touch their performers and see this gorgeous model actress in this costume made from their very own trash. So it was just the coolest, impactful thing that we could do in our public parks. And it was a total home run, great partnership. And then the other program I like to highlight is we created the Southeastern Pennsylvania Teen Filmmaker Showcase a few years ago. And essentially, there are so many kids nowadays that love TV and film production, and we want to provide that outlet for those kids. So it's a free film festival. It started a couple of years ago with just 20 kids here locally in Pennsylvania, and it's really blossomed. Now it's a national and international film festival. Last year we had 2,700 submissions, which sounds insane, from 125 countries. And the really neat thing this year is we're partnering with the Ukraine Film Festival or Film Office, and net proceeds from the film festival will go to a Ukrainian teen filmmaker. So, you know, whether you're a tiny little department, it doesn't matter at all. Just go out there and do as much as you can.
Wow,
Love
that is,
that.
you know, I'm glad you brought up the arts. This is wonderful.
Yep.
Wow.
We, you know, Parks and Rec, it can be anything you want it to be. And arts is a huge part of that, I think.
Oh, that is fantastic. Cindy, join in.
Wow, I'm really impressed by those programs, Jason. It's great to hear them. I want to talk about some things that we do here in Branson, and it's really had the opportunity in the early 2000s to develop sports tourism for Branson. That was not something that we had. And so I had a lot of teams calling me and wanting to kind of bring their teams here. So we really work to develop Branson as a sports destination, and we work directly with either the rights holders of the events or the tournaments to bring folks to Branson or run the events ourselves. So, I mean, it's really a win-win because Branson is such a great place for families. So when you come here and you have a tournament, there's a lot more than just the tournament to do, right? If you haven't been to Branson, you all need to come. But it really, we become a leader in this area in sports tourism and bring in a lot of folks to town. So I wrote down my statistics so I wouldn't forget. So since 2006, when the Recplex was built, we have hosted 58 national and World Series tournaments, 565 tournaments, 730,000 participants, and with a direct visitor spending of over 166 million. So not bad for a town the size of 10,000, right? And
No
so
kidding.
those are some great things that we have going on, Jody, in Branson. Hope people will come and check it out.
Wow. Cindy, I've known this obviously 30, 40 miles down the road in Springfield, Greene County, but you have taken that department from nothing, literally, to a nationally known department. Way to go.
Thank you,
Because
Jody.
it's been fun to watch it. What a ride. Brad, join in, please.
Yeah, thanks. Just wanted to share a little bit of information about our community for some context. If you look us up on Google Maps, we're pretty isolated here in Green River. We're not a suburb of a bigger city. Salt Lake's 2 hours, Denver's 5 hours from us. But people here in Green River can get all the things you can in a big city here in Green River. We provide a lot of services and programs, and it's an expectation of people here. Our biggest employers are Trona mines. I'm not going to try to explain that, but you can look it up. But a lot of our population spends a lot of their time underground and deep under the earth. So we have this awesome opportunity to provide something happy and to contribute to health and wellness. One of the exciting things that's going on is we have obviously the Green River that runs through our town, and we're rebuilding our riverfront park, and almost all of it is funded through grants. We don't really have the luxury of just asking for money from the council for things. We've got to kind of hustle to pay for things. And they're all grants that are available to probably most of you. Land Water Conservation Fund, Transportation Alternatives Program. If anybody has any questions about it, I'd be happy to share our experience with that. And then lots of local funds too. It's been quite a long process to get there. So we're starting on that. And then we're just getting ready for summer. We cherish summer in Wyoming. It's cold and windy over the winter. We kick summer off with a rodeo. It's award-winning rodeo. We maintain the grounds. Our summer day camp has grown huge. It just keeps growing and growing every year, and it's an innovative program the way that it's being run. Tons of kids in swim lessons. We maintain 800 acres and 26 parks, which is a lot for a population 12,000. All sorts of sports going on, and then we kind of cap the summer off with a river festival, and specifically we put on an art competition. So back to the arts. It's a 24-hour 2D and 3D art. We call it Art on the Green, and you can see the process of either a sculpture or a painting from start to finish, all the way, and then professionally judge. It's a really cool and unique event to cap off the summer.
This is why these three are on here because they are running the most dynamic departments with minimal staff. You all are doing a fantastic job, but listen to the uniqueness to this. Folks, you need to go to the websites. I've looked at these websites. They're unbelievable. And I have to admit, the Green River, oh my gosh, that website you have, I want to jump into the outdoors with you. That is a great website on there, Brad. Thank you so much, Brad, for giving us our final words on this one. All right, let's move on to Anne Marie with our first poll.
Let's do it. You know, I knew this was going to be a great show. I am just so, we're only one question in. I'm already so inspired by you guys. It's just totally awesome what you're doing. So, and Jody, really quick, you mentioned those websites in the national news. Brianne in our audience asked about them. I am pretty sure that I got those websites correct for her, but if you could check my answer in the Q&A, I would appreciate it. Okay. Let's launch our first poll question for you guys. And what we would like to know, there are a ton of priorities that are emerging now as more and more people are discovering parks and using them for all kinds of health and wellness and nature reasons. So we would like to know what the top priority you are pursuing in your department this year is. Is it funding? You heard Brad talk about it. There is a lot of funding out there right now that is available. Just need to apply for it, right? Expansion of services, maybe you need more services, expansion of infrastructure, restoration of programs that were halted during the pandemic, new parkland, or something else. And we always throw that something else in there. You know, if you're a regular viewer of the show, we put that in there to cover all the answers that we probably did not think about. So if it is something else, check that one. Let us know what that something else is in the Q&A so that we can share that with the audience. And we will give everybody a couple of minutes here to vote on that one. It's an interesting question. There is so much going on. I guess while we're waiting for everyone to vote, I was going to mention for the Land and Water Conservation Fund, we've launched a new resource on playcore.com. It's playcore.com/LWCF. And what we tried to do is take all of the information that's out there about the Land and Water Conservation Fund and digest it into smaller bite-sized pieces. A lot of the documents out there are, I mean, you know how it is, right? It's your typical government manual that's 10,000 pages long and starts with back in 1964. Well, okay, that's great. But I don't maybe need to know the entire history of the thing. So we try to digest it up into smaller pieces and address things like, how do I even decide which area in my department needs funding? Like, how do you look at that from an equity standpoint? If you're a first timer, what to do? There's some case studies in there of successful projects and where they got their match. There's guidelines in there on where matching funds can come from and how to address that. So just a lot of real basic information for you guys. So do check that out. All right, we are going to stop this one. It looks like everybody has voted and share the results with you guys. And it looks like funding, well, duh, right? I mean, that's kind of obvious, but a lot of other things as well. Expansion of services and infrastructure, restoration of those programs that were halted during the pandemic. So that's great. Lots of great things happening out there in parks. So thanks a lot for that. We'll have some more poll questions for you later, and I'm going to turn it over to Jody.
Well, and also that hub has been put together with the state agents for land and water conservation funds. So whatever you see on there, you can trust because it's actually your state agents that are doing that. And there's also 2 more webinars coming up, and we'll give you that information later on a series that actually is coming from your state agents and the National Association of those agents. So NARSLO. So anyway, yes, let's move on to question number 2. All right. As a small agency, it seems like there is never enough marketing dollars. Please talk about your agency's marketing opportunities and actions of getting the word out about programs, events, and facilities. Cindy, lead us on this question.
There's not enough money, so I totally agree. Getting the word out is crucial for sure, or we wouldn't have guests, right? So, I mean, Facebook has been big for us. I mean, it's definitely probably the cheapest way to do it. And, it is something that we've really improved our Facebook presence. And also during COVID, we really started drilling down into digital marketing. So we all started making videos. I think I've got a video talking about pickleball, and everybody's got videos. And so during that time, we really saw our audience grow because people like the engagement. It's kind of like this. I mean, it's very authentic. It's just not overly polished. And so we're definitely not polished on our videos. And we saw our presence nearly double, and we've seen participation go up. And then lastly, just to key on partnerships, you know, all of us in Parks and Recreation rely on partnerships, but we've definitely doubled down into those, and you can cross market if you're working with a business. So that really helps to get the word out too. We, during our Breakfast with Santa, we teamed with McDonald's, who had not opened their businesses for in-person, you know, folks to come. So they were our partner with McDonald's, and they cross-marketed us and vice versa. And then we just teamed with a local group called Fritz's Adventure on a mother-son event. And so again, partnerships are definitely the way to go, and you can stretch those marketing dollars, I have found.
You know, Cindy, just a follow-up, easy question here. How do you maintain it? You know, that always comes up about content and keeping up with the Facebook and everything. Is that everyone's job? I mean, again, you have a small staff, but a mighty staff. Tell us how you kind of do that to make sure and stay up with that.
It is tricky, Jody. We do have a small staff, and we used to go that direction, but we found that the messaging wasn't always the same if you didn't have it from one consistent person. So there is a gal in our organization, Carly Ellison, that she runs the pool and concessions, and she does marketing on the side. We're not one of those groups that has a full-time professional marketing person. So she keeps up with that, and she does a fantastic job. She posted a video just the other day of, we're going to have a doggy Easter egg hunt this weekend. And I shot some video last year. And so, yeah, it's hard to keep up with that, but it pays dividends if you can.
Well, that's fabulous. Thank you so much for that follow-up. Brad, join in on it, this question.
Yeah, I think, man, getting the word out in a small town isn't a huge challenge. Like, things can get out really fast. It's more about branding and making sure the right information is getting out. It's interesting, you know, there's all these free things available now to kind of stretch your budget, but it takes people to run that, and creative people and time. And that's the interesting thing about a smaller community, is everybody's got so many different jobs and hats that they wear. And it's similar to what Cindy said, how we're running our Facebook page. I just wanted to kind of share one thing that I think people would enjoy if they go on our Facebook page. I've enjoyed it. Like Jody mentioned, we won the grand plaque, the gold medal in 2020. And that's been interesting to figure out how to share that with the community and help people understand. And we're trying to kind of keep that going. We're a couple years into it, and it was originally a great source of community pride, and everybody was excited. But this is not me at all. Our staff's just creative, and they think of all these wonderful things. But we've began Adventures of Goldie. It's we've given a name to our plaque. Her name is Goldie, and it's kind of a behind the scenes look at the department. So it's not just marketing the gold medal. The most recent episode was a park inspection with some of our parks guys out there inspecting a park, and Goldie goes all over the place and kind of features everything that we do. You know, a lot of the perception, you just cut grass for your job. We do a little bit of everything, here in a small community. And this has been a great opportunity to feature our award and just really highlight what we do and kind of develop our brand. So I encourage you to get on our Facebook page and take a look for just little short videos that are kind of fun that our staff produces.
Love it.
Well, I love you've done that. And also you involve all your staff. It's fantastic. You get the word out and people get to see those great faces and all they're doing is quality work. My goodness. Jason, please join in and finish us up on this question.
Yeah, Brad, I love that Goldie. That's really fun.
Yeah.
Fun. That's the social media push that everyone can get behind and share that with their friends and families. That's very cool. And I agree too. I don't think getting the word out that an event is coming up is too hard in a small community. So my budget for marketing is a grand total of $0. So I may spend in a calendar year $10 on Facebook, pushes or something like that. So really what I focus on is just creating a high quality event as much as possible so that the folks at the event can tell all their friends and family, like, this was the place to be. Because just like Brad said, it creates this branding element that they know exactly what an East Scotian Park and Rec event is going to entail. Wonderful logistics and excitement and memorable experiences, etc. So they know whether it's an egg hunt or the film festival or a camp, they know they're getting high quality stuff. So that's really where, for marketing, that's where I really focus most of my attention. But then also, post event, tons of marketing on social media, pictures, video, etc. So the folks that didn't come, they say, darn, I missed it. I don't want to be there for the next one. And then the last thing I would like to touch on is, I think Park and Rec folks sometimes are unnaturally too humble and don't like to talk about their accomplishments. And I'm like of the exact opposite opinion. I think we all do such amazingly cool things. And I am very willing to tell people that we do cool things here, because we do. And I want that for the public, and they deserve that, and they get that here. And so it's kind of like the Muhammad Ali thing. Like, Muhammad Ali was not the greatest boxer of all time, but he said he was. And if you ask the common American, they think that he was, because he said it over and over and over and over again. So here in East Scotian, a simple way is to apply for awards, local, state, national awards, because it's like getting a gold sticker on that test. Everyone knows what the gold sticker means. So, I would just encourage everyone on the call to really amplify your events, be proud of what you do, apply for awards, and really tell people of the cool things that you're doing. Don't be afraid to put your story out there.
Well, you really hit it. It's so much also psychology, get that frequency out there, get it in the K minds of people's minds. And it's amazing how that will create that synergy. That's a wonderful, wonderful view of it. Anne-Marie, I'm going to ask you a couple of things.
Sure.
Okay, I'm putting you on the spot here. This is an expert in marketing.
Oh,
If you were, yes, you are. If you were in their shoes as a small department and you're limited, what would be your kind of number one go-to for them to promote their department?
I mean, honestly, I've always been surprised, and I've worked for small companies in the beginning of my marketing career with a very tiny staff. And what I think small departments have, and I'm not saying large departments don't have this, but small departments always have this, is that sense of camaraderie and teamwork, and we are all in here together, and there's a lot of cross-functional work going on. And so, a lot of times somebody that maybe they're in accounting, or maybe they're somebody that's in the department that does maintenance, or, they may not have any idea about marketing, but they could have a really great idea. So one of the things that I would definitely always do is, continually have things with the team, like have contests, and who can come up with the best idea to promote this thing, and buy that person lunch or something like that. It doesn't have to be a big thing, just something so that they feel appreciated for their ideas. But honestly, just that small working team working together and can often come up with a lot of things. And then, honestly, come up with crazy, kooky things for people to do. And, I've had people wear sandwich boards before, or put stickers on the sidewalk, leading to an event. And it's just something I go down and buy sticker paper and run it through my copy machine.
Good idea.
And, you pull it off at the end of the day. It doesn't have to last forever. I mean, it won't last forever if it's just regular old sticker paper. But if you've got an event going on, guerrilla marketing with the stickers, ask businesses, hey, can I put this, and have like 2 blocks this way to the such and such event or whatever, with arrows on them, and put them everywhere. And you'd be surprised, especially with cell phones. And this is kind of a bad thing, but it's true. Like, how many people walk down like this and they're looking right? So if you put something on the ground that's bright, a lot of times it'll get their attention more than even, say, a billboard was. And it's essentially free. I mean, sticker paper's cheap, and, you're using a little bit of toner, but, at the end of the day, it's not like having to pay for a radio ad or something like that. And then, use your local media. I mean, they are looking for stories just as much as you're looking for exposure. They're, they want to cover great community events. A lot of times it's the lifeblood, especially if you're thinking about, there's a lot of not so happy news. And so if they can share happy news of things that are going on, so invite them to your events, send press releases out to them all, get free guest spots to, be on the local news and talk about something that's upcoming. And a lot of times they'll just do that for free because they're looking for happy news and they're looking to inform the community. That's what their role is. And so it's not just bringing unhappy news and crime stats and that kind of thing. They want to balance that out with cool things that are going on, and parks have that in spades. So I would definitely do that as well.
Well, thank you for joining in, because I know that you've seen every delineation of size population. So again, any information we can give anyone. Let's move to our second poll question.
Let's do that. Okay, so guess what, guys? It is about marketing, because we love to hear what the audience is thinking, and we want you guys to feel involved in the show as well. And again, we've said this a million times, but the ideas that we get for the show come from you guys. We're not like some crazy brain trust here trying to come up with show ideas. We want them to be things you want to hear. So let's do number 2 here. So just simply, we want to know, what types of marketing communications activities do you take part in? Social media, issuing press releases, creating and sharing videos, local media interviews? Do you do brochures and print materials? Again, that's something that a lot of time you can get a really inexpensive template online. Create a little trifold brochure on a piece of paper that you fold yourself and take it to local motels and places like that, Chamber of Commerce, so that they know about your space. Speaking at local events, print ads, event planning and execution, networking with other departments. That's a great way to get ideas, because you could think of something that they've never thought of, and vice versa. So that's always a good way to share, or something else. So again, I used all 10 answers here. I had a lot more, but that's all the spaces that we have in Zoom. So if you do something else, please share that in the comments, and we'll read that out to the audience, because this is something that, definitely marketing is the key to attendance and people knowing about what's going on. So please share that. You guys voted really fast. Like usually I kind of have to chat a little bit while everybody's voting. You guys appear to be all done. So let's go ahead and share this out with everybody. Interesting, social media, obviously we expected that one to be high. Brochures and print material, that's a pretty high number of the group, that 80%. So that's great. Press releases, videos, local media interviews, event planning and execution, networking. Love to see that a lot of people do that one. So yeah, a pretty wide plethora of things going on there. So now we have another variation of that same poll question. And what we'd like to know now is, which marketing communication activity would you like to add to your current set? And again, this is where I think that something else may come into play. So if there's something else you really, really would like to do that you're not doing right now, check that box and let us know what it is. Type it in the comments so that we can share that. Maybe we've got somebody here that's done that before. They can give you some insight on that. Yeah, a lot of different answers coming up here all the way across. So the reason that we chose a lot of these too is that, with the exception maybe of some of the brochure and print materials, depending on how deeply you get into it and whether you have somebody on staff that can do some kind of design work, that one can be a little bit more costly, but most of these are things that are very inexpensive and easy to do. Even creating and sharing video with so much online exposure and things like, Instagram and YouTube that have paved the way. You don't even have to have a really professional setup. Like great videos done on an iPhone with some downloadable software to kind of, edit them can be very inexpensive. So, okay, let's, this one is all over the board, guys. So creating and sharing video was number 1. So hopefully that gave you some tips on how to think about that. Speaking at local events, that's another great one. And honestly, it's a good idea to network with other people who might be event planners in your community that are not involved with parks, and share that kind of stuff. So Maybe if there's somebody that's doing like a health fair or something like that, maybe you can come to their health fair and talk about how parks are a great way to stay healthy and to improve health and wellness. I mean, there are tons of studies out there that you can use and cite for that. So maybe do some networking on that. And then, gosh, I think every single answer got a couple of votes. This one's really, really widespread across the board. I'd say all the other ones are kind of evenly planned. So thanks again so much. Maybe we'll have to do a marketing show later and just share marketing ideas. But this has been great. So Jody, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Absolutely. And so many times on the evaluations, they come in and ask these marketing questions. And especially this was important today for the small departments. That's been asked over and over with limited manpower. All right, question number 3, panelists, here we go. All of you have been with your agencies for a while and are managing small departments with limited staff support, which can be a daily challenge, especially with growing pains of community expansion. And I guess the key questions for us, and these are from your colleagues, are what attracted you to your agency? And second of all, what has kept you at your agency and where you're at? So we know there's a lot of different answers here, but you know what? We need to hear from you. Brad, start us with this.
All right, thanks. Just a quick marketing story that kind of answers this question, but goes along with it. Anne-Marie was saying about media outlets looking for news. That's totally true here. But I grew up in the Seattle area and came from Seattle to Wyoming, which was like a big change. So there in Seattle, like the news was like big murders and just like grave things. And when I moved to Casper, Wyoming, which is like 60, 70,000 people, which is like a huge city for Wyoming. It's like the Denver of Colorado, but they have their own news affiliate for NBC and CBS and Casper. And like my first couple of weeks on the job, I put out a press release for a racquetball league. It was like our smallest program. And I got a call like right away to go on the morning show to promote the racquetball league on the NBC,
Yeah.
which was just like so like weird for me coming from Seattle. But it's so, what attracted me here. I'll just say that was in Casper, wanted to become a director, and there's an opportunity here in Green River. But I love Wyoming. Wyoming's like it's such a cool place, especially if you're into Parks and Rec, open space everywhere. People just live it here all the time. Kind of the parks lifestyle. So I love that about it. It's just a great family friendly place, a good place to raise your kids, good schools, good parks. Just love Wyoming and love being able to promote that here in Green River. And what's kept me here? I'm guessing the answer will be similar. We'll see for everyone, but I just love the people that I work with. Our Parks and Rec team is so dedicated and awesome and conscientious, and all of them are just wonderful to work with. And if to ever leave, that would be the most heartbreaking thing, hands down, right there.
Well, we appreciate you sharing that from the heart, because my goodness, the growth and what's going on with Wyoming in general, just, you've been smaller in population, but my goodness, the outdoors, that's crazy now. So everybody and their brother has now resurged to understand that from the pandemic and how important it is. So fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Jason.
So I'm from Pennsylvania, and I had kind of bounced around the country a few places. I was working for Loudoun County, Virginia, which is a really big department outside DC.
Yeah.
I wanted to move back to Pennsylvania to be closer to family and bring my wife and kids, back home, quote unquote. And when I applied at East Scotia and interviewed, I almost didn't think it was a real place, because like yeah, for real. During the interviews, like the township manager wore a Harley Davidson sweatshirt, and like the supervisors wore just regular polos, and like they would go to the Wawa, the gas station down the street, and you'd see them. It was almost like they were quote unquote like real people. and when I was at Loudoun County, it was a very different experience, suit and tie and 25 layers of leadership. And it was just a very different atmosphere where, you worked side by side with the elected officials and different departments and really the residents to kind of move Parks and Rec forward. And so honestly, like 2 weeks in, I told my wife, I'm like, I still don't think this place is real. I'm going to wait it out. But so kind of like what has kept me here is it actually is totally real. They're real people. They're wonderful people. And the neat thing about being in this small Park and Rec field is that you can see, families from the time they're 2 or 3, and you teach them how to swim and go to your summer camp programs, and they become paid staff for you and so on and so on. You can really be involved in so many elements of your population's lives that, like you go to bed at the end of every day and you're like, you really are a vital part of that community, which, it's hard to have that experience for yourself, in a bigger department.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great comments. You're so right.
Yeah.
One time it was brought up to me, Jody, would you like to be a big fish in a small pond, or would you like to be a small fish in a big pond? That was a very big aha moment for me, to not move to a very urban, large department. And that's nothing against the urban department. Love some of the best departments in the country, but you know what? It depends on you and what fits you and how you feel comfortable. Cindy, bring us home on this one.
Yeah, I'd like to echo everything everybody said. What originally attracted me to the Branson area is the lakes. I love the lake, and it's a beautiful area like some of you all live in already. But what has really kept me here is the small town feel. Anne-Marie hit on it, and several of you have. I just worked the father-daughter dance 2 weekends ago. And so we all have to work all events. And that is different than if you're in a larger department where you just maybe focus on this one task. And so I enjoy that. I enjoy the interpersonal relationships that you get to have, not only with our staff, but with our citizens. And I think back about COVID, and I was talking about the digital marketing. I mean, I had my maintenance guys going on and doing a video on composting, and when they get involved in the Halloween events, they go crazy because they love to be able to do that. And I just love the camaraderie, the teamwork, and it's just something that I've personally enjoyed, and it's kept me very engaged through the years.
Well, obviously all of you, and I know this just from reading applications or reading and looking at your departments, but just knowing about your leadership, you could have gone anywhere. You could go anywhere tomorrow. I know that, you're very humble about this, but really looking at your backgrounds, thank goodness you want to stay in some of these communities, because we need you there. That's so many times that smaller area is the guts of our society. So thank you so much for staying in your departments. Doesn't mean you don't move on, but again, let's move on to a new segment we added this year. And this is with our esteemed state executive directors. And Clay, you've been patient hanging on there, but we've been waiting to have you on the show. I can't believe everything in Parks and Michigan is doing. And you have got to let the country know, because you set it on fire with your staff. And again, you have a small, but you have a mighty staff. So would you tell us also a couple of things, a little bit about your background? You are just so intriguing. So it's all yours, Clay. Let's talk a little bit.
Well, thanks, Jody. And like these guys have all said, I appreciate you thinking of us and highly enough of us here in Michigan to have me on the show. I represent a membership of almost 3,000 folks here in the state of Michigan through our departments, and it's a complete honor to represent them on a daily basis. Like you guys, I grew up in Montana, out west, in that area, so I'm familiar with where you're at. grew to love the outdoors and became, you know, someone who had values that were entrenched in outdoor activities and outdoor experiences. And so as my family transitioned to Michigan, I kind of, you know, found my way in that world. But we really, you know, here in Michigan, we really are kind of, we think, leading in some areas here around.
Yes.
You know, I think one of the things that you guys hit on is that as Parks and Rec professionals, we don't do a really good job of telling our story. And we're really trying to amplify here in Michigan the ability to tell the Parks and Recreation stories, and really, you know, help our folks understand what that can do from that marketing perspective and things. And so I think, you know, some of the things that we feel like we're doing well, Jody, and we've talked about this, is, you know, we've really honed in on our staff. We're a staff of 4, full-time, 1 part-time, but we've really segmented out what we're doing. And so we've tried to really hire people who have a specific skill set that can deliver, you know, membership, the things they need. And one of those that we just did recently is we've brought on, and some of you know, we brought on Anthony Iraqi. Anthony came to us in July to be our education and event manager and really focus on education and events specifically for our membership. We completed under his leadership a complete needs assessment of our entire membership, where we hit the road. We hired a consultant. We interviewed, we did in-person events, and we really asked our membership, what do you want from MParks as it relates to training and education? So we were looking beyond the general, you know, every other day brown bag webinar that might have a specific focus, you know, which are great. And we're going to continue to do those things where we can have engagement. But really, like, what can we do? And, you know, coming out of post-COVID here, what can we do if folks in Michigan aren't able to travel, right? We're not able to get to maybe a national conference or to a director's school at Ogilvy, or we're not able to do some of those things. How can we help you receive some of those skills? And so we've put a lot of focus into developing a training program that will kind of have a 2 to 4 year lifespan, and really engage the membership. And not like you all, when you create a new program, hopefully you don't sit in a room with your staff and just say, we think this is what our community wants, so this is what we're going to put on. You go out, and you've talked about it, you go out and you interact with your residents. And so we really wanted to interact with our membership to accomplish this. So that's a really exciting piece that we've worked super hard on over the last 6 to 8 months. We have the results of that needs assessment, which was a 6-month process. We rolled it out at our conference that we just held, our first in-person conference in Grand Traverse County in beautiful Northwest Michigan about a month ago. And now the work starts to put this all together and deliver it to our members. And so I know that our folks are excited to see that. You know, and MParks really, again, we've dipped our toe, as you know, Jody, under Anthony's leadership in the podcasting world, and we've created a podcast.
They're great.
It's called Shore to Shore. So as you may know, Michigan's surrounded obviously by the Great Lakes on three sides. It's really important for us to advertise Michigan. Michigan isn't a through state. I mean, I don't know if people realize that, but you got to turn left or right to get to us from wherever you're coming from. Right? You don't get to drive through. And so it's a challenge within our association to attract folks into our state. So we're really trying to tell the stories of our profession. We're trying to tell the stories of our partners and our state as a whole, as far as the gem that we feel like we are through this podcast. So it's been a really interesting focus that we've put in place. And then really the staff that I inherited 4 years ago, I was in the field, by the way. I spent 20 years as a Parks and Recreation professional before coming to the association.
Yeah.
I was a programmer to start out with in a couple different communities, and then spent 10 years as a director of 2 different departments. One was a recreation only department, and then one was really a park heavy county system. And then served on the board of directors for MParks, and then decided to kind of dip my toe when our executive left. So, and following an icon like Ann Conklin is something that is been a challenge, but we just really strive to be the voice of Michigan's Parks and Recreation community, and advocate and educate and kind of be that sounding board for our members. And I think that's kind of the message I want to deliver nationally, is that, your state association should be doing these things for you, and being your partner and
That's
standing
right.
hand in hand with you and providing you with the opportunity to be recognized. It's great. You're all award winners. And you're right. That Muhammad Ali piece was spot on. It really is. You tell your story, you tell your story, you tell your story, and then everybody believes your story. And you create that story. So kudos to the three panelists, Jody and Anne Marie, for putting this together. It's a pleasure to be on with you.
Well, I tell you, I've watched you over the years. And of course, you know, when I was NRPA president, I was very fortunate to travel to a lot of state conventions. I've always been impressed with Michigan from the standpoint of you really not only go from rural, but all the way to the Detroits. And it is amazing the ground you cover. So I just want to shout out to you. We were waiting to have you on the show. We were so happy you were available. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for what you're doing. And some of these folks serve on boards that are not only attendees, or they're on the panel here. This is great information for you all to take back if you're missing something. But this, you've got to take in this podcast. The Shores to Shore is amazing. So kudos to you all. Way to go.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jody.
Clay.
You bet.
Okay, Anne-Marie, this is one of our most favorite times.
It is.
Recognition.
It absolutely is. I have to say too, I have been to Michigan, and it is absolutely worth turning right or left for. It is such a beautiful state. And I just a little thing here. I know you mentioned Grand Traverse County. I got to tell you that the Cherry, I think it's Cherry Capital Airport in Travis. This is the most beautiful airport in the entire world, people. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but it is like you walk in there and my first thought was, am I in somebody's house? It's like a lodge. It has like stone walls and there's fireplaces. It's absolutely incredible. So when you said that, it made me think of that cool airport. I just have never seen one like that before in my life.
It is beautiful.
It is very beautiful. All right. So this section, this is what we call Good News in Parks About Great People. And this is one of the favorite sections, not only of Jody and I, but our audience as well, because this is when we give our panelists the opportunity to talk about somebody in their department. And you know how it is. Nobody does it alone, and certainly not with these small departments. We know it takes the whole department and everybody working, but we ask them to recognize somebody in the department that has kind of gone above and beyond. And so that's what this section is about. We are super excited. And Cindy, we're going to have you go first. Tell us about Jim.
What a great picture of Jim. So Jim is my park maintenance superintendent, and he's just amazing. He's been here about 6 years. And so we have found we've been very challenged in our budget to be able to do things, or now the hiring market is very difficult. So he has really taken the approach of, hey, we can do this. We can do it ourselves. We can figure out how to do it. So this segment highlights a trail. We had received a grant for a porous paved trail, which is made of shredded tires. And so we had the grant going, and we couldn't even raise the funds through our city budget for the match. So we went out and I got a donation just for the rock, and then we did all the work ourselves, and the material had gone up since we got the grant, and we were in jeopardy of not being able to do the grant. So we're like, we'll just do it all ourselves. And so we just figured out how to do it. Jim Cartwright and his staff got certified in how to lay the material. You see kind of a picture there of the machinery and how to do it. And so, I mean, the grant was in jeopardy of losing it. It is a grant that's really important because it's very close to Lake Taneycomo, and water will percolate through it. So clean water was a part of this as well. And so just want to highlight his work and his leadership style and ability that allowed us to have this beautiful path now that people enjoy.
I mean, that is, you know, that is just amazing. Listen to that. Here's somebody that he didn't have to go out and do that, but somebody that went out and got certified on something that's not even part of his day-to-day, just to be able to see this happen and see the grant through. That is just so completely cool. I love that story. I can see why you highlighted him. And Jim, if you're out there, you're awesome. We're all very proud of you. That's very cool. All right, next we have Jason is going to tell us about Carmen. And I cannot say how excited I am that you guys have a beekeeper. This is the first time we've ever had a beekeeper recognized, and I love this. I can't wait to hear this story.
It's pretty awesome. So I'm actually a one-person department. So, anytime I want to add a new program or event or whatever, typically I have to have a volunteer who can, push something along. And so Carmen has been involved in the township for like the last 50 years or so. Started as a volunteer fireman, was an elected official for 25 years. And long before I got here, even in the mid 90s, he was very pro Parks and Recreation, very progressive in understanding the need for green and open space. He saved 500 acres from development, and that turned into 100 acres that we got for passive park, then 400 that went to the creation of a golf course. And then since I've gone here, he has developed the love of beekeeping after he retired. So he started with a few hives in his backyard, and now he has about 100 different hives. And last year, we created a really neat public-private partnership with the senior residential living space across from one of our parks, where the seniors paid for the hives to be placed on our public land, and they get all the honey. The honey goes into the recipes, it goes into cooking classes, etc. And then Carmen here, who is very Italian and very verbose, he leads all of our youth education classes. So we cobbled together some funds and additional grant funding, and I have junior beekeeper outfits. So we do classes for kids ages 8, 9, 10, 11, etc. They put on the outfits and they get to do exactly what Carmen's doing there, right around 10,000 bees. So
Wow.
it's just really amazing. And, above and beyond that, like Carmen, you see the picture of the Boy Scouts, like that was an event I couldn't make. So Carmen said, boom, I'm there. So like he was like my de facto assistant director. And of course he's Santa. So, small towns do a lot with a little, and he's always been that person there who just does whatever is needed. And he's just a great dude.
That is awesome. I love all the different ways that beekeeping program is touching, all ages, right? I mean, what a way to turn it into an intergenerational program, benefiting the seniors in that way, but then also creating stewardship among young people so that they value bees in their role. I mean, that is so hugely important as that species continues to be threatened. So that is really super exciting. Way to go. Way to go, Carmen. All right, let's bring it home. Brad, tell us about Katie.
All right. Yeah, we need to bring Carmen to our town. I've always wanted to learn about.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he would do it.
Well, I'm happy to talk about Katie. I really wish we could talk about all of our staff. I feel like, especially our leadership team here, they all go above and beyond. Like I could give you examples of each one, but just Katie, I'll name a few of the programs she runs, but everybody kind of does everything, and it's hard to really give people a job title because they do so many different things. But Katie runs the after school program. Summer day camp is our big program. She has started that from scratch and built it up into a huge program. Gymnastics. Katie basically runs the rodeo. She serves as a liaison to the rodeo committee. The Art on the Green event that I mentioned. Katie runs that, a bunch of other events. She's involved in marketing. She's one of the administrators on Facebook. There's a whole bunch of things that she does. I wanted to feature just because when I think of Katie, she's just continuous improvement. She's always looking for ways to make the after school program better or summer camp better. And it's never me saying like, hey, Katie, you should look at this. It's always her like, hey, I have this idea. I want to try this. And she's just constantly making things better and improving, and her programs are always they're always growing. During the pandemic, we really in Wyoming weren't closed down that long. It was really just a couple months that we were shut down, and then we were pretty much open just under some restrictions. And anyways, Katie was during that time when it was uncertain and we were like stuck at home, and she was thinking of ways to get the community active and involved. She started up like a virtual run, a gingerbread competition that I don't know where she came up with the idea, but it's become really popular. There was we kind of had it a little more in person this year, and there's gingerbread houses all over the rec center this year, but she's just constantly without ever being told to do so, thinking of ways to improve. And I can say that for all of our staff. And it's one of the things that I love about working in Parks and Rec is generally this is the type of the people that we work with are people that are here because they want to be here. They're generally super talented and smart and creative. They could be making lots of money in the business world or being a doctor or whatever, but they do this because they're passionate about serving others through what we do. So Katie definitely embodies that.
I love it. And I love that I noticed she's wearing that "We Can Do It" shirt. That seems like a perfect embodiment for her. Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, very good. So for our next part here, we have another, let me check and see. Looks like we might have a couple of questions. Let me just double check here. Gary Gates agrees with you, Clay, and all the wonderful things that you said. Oh, John, thanks for the mention of Grand Traverse City. Only very cool. County, very cool. Awesome. And I think, Jody, I think you had another question for the group as well.
I do. And this really isn't as much a question as I would like each of you just to take a couple of minutes and just talk about your department. I want to leave this open because it's hard to imagine if you haven't been to your websites or you haven't been in your city or community, it's hard to imagine this community. So what I'm going to do is, Cindy, I'm going to start with you. And I'd like you to describe, because you are unique. I mean, you've talked a little bit about your uniqueness, but Branson's a different bird in the whole scheme of the nest. So just if you could take a couple of minutes and talk about Branson as a community and how you fit.
Yeah, thanks, Jody, for giving me the opportunity to do that. Branson is unique in the fact that we are a small town, about 10,000, but then we serve 10 million visitors. And so a destination.
Crazy.
It's really challenging. We want to serve those visitors as well. But I mean, my core is our local residents that live here and programming to them. But the tournaments that I mentioned, I had to learn how to operate that, and we had to learn how to be available and have staff, almost 24 hours a day to be able to operate those tournaments, and tens of thousands of people that come in, and how do you maintain your facilities at a high level. And we've just really, I guess we've gotten used to doing that. We have our visitor market and we have our local market, so it is different, it's challenging, but it makes it fun, it makes it unique, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So our staff is really challenged by it, but even our maintenance staff, they love the challenge of serving both the visitors and the locals. And so we're real proud of our facilities. And during COVID, as several of the panelists mentioned, the outdoor facilities have exploded. It's not uncommon to see 10 or 12 different license plates from other states in some of our trails and parks. So our small department is challenged by this, and we're excited to be able to do it.
Well, it was unique, and that was a little bit a part of this, putting together this panel, because you all come from a different view, but kind of some of the same uniqueness of issues and different things you have to juggle just to make it all work. Jason, let's go to you. Please give some input on this.
Yeah, so East Goshen Township, we have 18,000 residents. We're, I would call us rural suburban community outside Philadelphia, about 30 miles. So we have about 500 acres of green space. So it's definitely very green. A lot of people drive into the city and then come home, try and quick eat dinner. So kind of like as a park rec department, programmatically, we schedule things later in the day than you typically would if you're more co-located kind of with your work environment. So that was a little different for me, coming in. 7 o'clock t-ball practice just sounds, crazy as a start time, but that's what works for us.
Wow.
We're pretty unique in that we're a thoroughfare for the British Army during the Revolutionary War. So we have oodles and oodles of ghost stories. We have a working blacksmith shop. which twice a week we have a blacksmith who hands down the trade generation to generation. So kids can go in there and learn how to make doorknobs and keys, and it's a very unique aspect of East Scotian. So we do ghost walks, and we bring in the paranormal society and do all kinds of fun ghost-like things.
Wow. And I'm going to ask you a follow-up to this afterwards, because this is so interesting. Okay, Brad, we want you to come in on this one.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned a little bit about our community before, that we're kind of, I guess, isolated if you look at us on a map. But I think one of the unique things about us being a small town and not like a suburb at all is we don't have a lot of the social services that you might have, like a YMCA or a Boys and Girls Club or a private gym, or really anything that's, we were kind of relied upon to provide all these services that people expect to live now. And so I've talked a lot about kind of the recreation side of things. Our park side of things is really robust. We have lots of, I think they're unique, that we take on aside from your, taking care of parks and turf and athletic fields. We have all the city facilities underneath our department that we maintain. So from HVAC to electrical to custodial, that's under the parks department. So that's like City Hall and the police department and other city facilities. We run the mosquito abatement. It's impossible to abate them. The management program for the city. We do live in a desert, but we have a river, so there's water. We get mosquitoes, so we deal with that. We operate the city cemetery. We do snow plowing over the winter on our trails and throughout our parks and buildings. We have the kind of the citywide weed abatement program, and just lots of other like catch-all things that probably a lot of you can relate to. But like we have a guy in our parks department that builds furniture for the whole city. So like all the desks in City Hall are pretty much built by parks employees.
Wow.
All the furniture is, which is especially handy this year when you couldn't order anything. we were able to just build it. And then that's on top of all the traditional things like trails and grooming athletic fields and all events and things like that kind of everywhere does. So
Brad,
all sorts of thing, and I've learned so much being here about things I never thought that I would learn about. I know so much about mosquitoes. I never planned on that when I joined, as a sports programmer.
Isn't that amazing when we get thrown into this, everyone? I'll never forget going over a zoo, and all of a sudden I knew more about exotic animals than I ever thought I'd ever known. And we never studied this in school. So I got to tell you, it's trial and error and battery by fire, right? We definitely learn a lot. Just to follow up, Cindy, in your situation, what's your acreage look like as far as what you manage?
Yeah, so we have about 450 acres and 16 parks. And so, we just increased that, Jody, because we just acquired some land that we were hoping to build some mountain bike trails on. Something I haven't done before. So I could really relate to what Brad was talking about, because for some reason I'm in charge of some of that same stuff, Brad, that you were talking about, City Hall and grounds and downtown. And I get calls on snakes, and I don't know about snakes. So it's just, you got to know a little bit about everything, don't you?
Oh, thank you, Cindy. Jason, what are you managing right now in acreage? What do you do? Because you have a lot of, different things around you, and just right out of Philadelphia.
Yeah. We're about just shy of 500 acres, 18 parks, most of it open space, passive parks, native plantings, etc. Probably the most unique thing about us and our biggest challenge is we only have one active park. So everything else is passive.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah, we have one 55-acre park that has our playground and the ball fields and football fields, etc. So I'm amazed at our residents, how they share that one park so nicely, because
wow.
And of course parking is always a challenge in there. but they're so graceful with each other that, you know, I'm shocked. I'm shocked by it, very much so.
That is
Cool.
really cool. And then finally, Brad, can you give us what you're talking about, number of parks and your acreage?
Yeah, so about 800 acres, probably about a fourth is just kind of open space that we do have responsibility over, and the rest is, you know, very developed and active, I guess. 26 parks and a bunch of unique facilities on top of that, like shooting ranges and skate parks and indoor shooting range and other things on top of that.
I'm fascinated because you're close kind of to what you're doing, but isn't it amazing? You have to do jack of all trades. You pretty well have to know so much. I've always said this, and I'll finish up on this, is that's why a lot of parks directors are recruited for town managers or deputy city managers or whatever, because we deal with a plethora, again, of avenues, and we have to learn so many different trades and different aspects of our daily jobs. You three are a pleasure to be with. I'm going to turn it over to Anne-Marie. We've got a great show ahead.
Yeah, we do. And I gotta say, I have learned so much from all of you. And interestingly, I mean, I've been to Michigan. I've been to actually everybody's communities, with the exception of Jason. And I will tell you, between the beekeeping, the verbose Italians, and blacksmithing opportunities, I'm definitely heading up there.
Come on down.
Sounds like a blast. So yes, we just have a couple of reminders and closing thoughts. Remember that we do have a good news swag package available at the end of the season to the person who gets the most colleagues to register. So be sure to tell all your friends and people in your department and get them to say that they heard about the show from you. And every time your name is mentioned, we put you in a spreadsheet, and we're counting those votes. And the person who brings the most new viewers in is going to get that fun swag package. It'll be a lot of fun. You're going to get one of these wonderful cups that you keep seeing everybody have, as well as some other really cool one-of-a-kind items. Education.playcore.com is where you get them to register. And if you ever want to see any of our old episodes, we do house those on youtube.com. It's youtube.com/Playcore News. We don't give CEUs for those, but there's certainly always a lot of great learning like we had today from our panelists, and some really fun, fresh ideas. So if you ever just need an uplift or some great ideas, it's a fun way to tune in. This is the Land and Water Conservation Fund resources that we talked about. Yes, Jody, I put this slide together while we were talking today. So if you go to playcore.com/LWCF, that's Land and Water Conservation Resource Hub. That's a screenshot of it. You can see there. You can see there's planning tools and resources, a great FAQ section, some case studies, a link to the education series I'm going to talk about in just a second, and then also links to National Park Service and NSORLO, which is the state liaison officers that we've partnered with and has been helping us with all of these great resources. So a lot of good information there. And then finally, also at education.playcore.com, where you sign up for the show, you can sign up for this 3-part series. One of them, the March 24th one, is over, but we will be providing a recording to that as soon as we can. But there's still 2 sessions to go, April 21st and May 12th. This has been an amazing partnership. We have experts on all of these topics that join us. And it's been a really great educational session to learn about how to access the Land and Water Conservation Fund. There's a lot of money out there right now, people, that is just for parks. So go out there and get some of it. And if there's something we can do to help you do that, please do that. So do check out those resources. And then finally, May 5th is our next show. We're going to be talking about intergenerational programs through design. Again, education.playcore.com, and you can see our panel here, some great folks. Mr. Scott Martin, who's the director in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Dr. Tiffany Johnson from Tukwila, Washington. Yes, I know how to say that because I used to live in Seattle also. And Holly Browder from Columbus, Georgia will be joining us. So I'm super excited about those shows. So please sign up, join us. We're super excited about that. And Jody, any parting words?
Well, we've had the best of the best, and we are so fortunate to have you today. Thank you again from the heart. You're our sheroes and heroes out there, and I'll keep saying it to all of you. And Clay, keep driving and leading us in those state associations. Great job. So thank you all so much for your time.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. And we will see you on May 5th. Don't forget to sign up. We look forward to it. Have a
Thank
great
you, Ann.
weekend. Bye, everybody.
Thanks all. Appreciate it.
Yeah.